So, I this was around 2018. This is when I lived in Philadelphia. I moved 8 times during the pandemic, um, and 3 times before that. Between 2016 and 2021, at the end of 2021, I moved 11 times. That's how horrible it was. So I was always under stress. Um, I had horrible roommates, threats, theft, harassment, and I mean harassment, like leaving a chicken to fester so it'll stink up the kitchen so I can't cook, stealing my stuff, standing outside my door and like making I'm gonna say bird noises, but it was worse than that. It was like horrible cackling, high pitched, and it was done, I think, to make me think that they are crazy, unhinged, and that they can hurt me. Um, so and also arguing with me every time they saw me, and not I wouldn't call it arguing, like yelling in a way. Again, maybe to make me think that they were mentally ill, so they can have their way. No, so I was under a lot of stress, and I wrote a lot. I wrote a lot. I couldn't dance much, though I did. Um, Coming from having a career in New York to going to Philadelphia, it was fairly easy for me to get some gigs that were, I guess, it was competitive. I had a good resume, but so there was a lot of joy while I lived in Philadelphia, but my day to day was full of harassment, threats, theft, things. People broke my things. Just yeah, horrible, horrible things. Theft, swindling. I had a landlord who swindled me. It's just yeah. I was living with a roommate who would elder abuse, and I reported him. Um, so I'm still going through notebooks. I moved around, like I throw out my clothing, but I keep my heavy notebooks. I moved around with them um into New York. And if you've listened to my other uploads, I have a voucher. I'm very grateful, but also it took me 14 years. Yeah. I was in a DV shelter, and they put me out on the street saying that it's uh, under the officially it was that I refused Section 8, which is a lie. I wouldn't. Would anybody in New York refuse Section 8? So yeah, I did say I was in Philadelphia. If you don't know material from my channel, I'm a native New Yorker of Asian descent. And yes, my Asianness might have to do with some of the harassment. Like I said, I was getting a lot of nice gigs and accomplishing a lot, achieving a lot. And I was really hated by people who'd sit around and like play video games or get high or get drunk or watch things on streaming all day. So this is about class and social class, economic class. But this is, yeah, I know a lot of you out there are abjectly poor, the kind of poor that, poor college students who get delivery every day don't understand. It's not like I'm poor, I have to eat Thai food or Vietnamese food or Mexican food every day. It's not that kind of I'm poor. I grew up, I stole from bodegas. I'm not proud of it. No. I used to sell Delaney cards, which are like those attendance and greeting cards in high school. If you're my age, you know what Delaney cards are. So I used to sell them to truants because I was illegally had access to those cards. I was a attendance monitor, which was also illegal. Um, yeah, creepy French teacher. And a kid that I didn't know I was cute, and I still don't. I don't look at that. I just avoid that subject. Um, so yeah, I was writing. So I had the last few uploads are live sessions, and I revisit stuff that I wrote because I'm throwing away paper. Tried to consolidate everything, and instead of writing a book that I people have always, not always, but for like the past 20 years encouraged me to do, I think it's faster and I can get this out to more people by doing these uploads. And yeah, I'm not, this isn't monetized, and but I can upload, and also I don't have time to write a book. And I'm in pain. My upper body, my upper body doesn't work well. So yes, writing a book, I've kind of given up, but I can do this. So it's about me. Like I'm not gonna read the whole page, but I did have a hard time with boundaries because I didn't know boundaries, and I was abused by people much of my life. But I wrote that the strong, resourceful, hardworking people may be hell-bent on not being like their parents and trusting anyone who are more decent than their abusers. Maybe they're not really on the wagon. Okay? So we know how to do controlled dissociation from years of being sexually abused. Before you tell somebody to grow up and get a job, especially if you're not working or had a meaningful career. Yeah, when I was on disability, I used to be told a lot to get a job, including by people whose spouses um pay for everything, and they have like the arts as a hobby. Mind you, when I was a professional dancer in New York, I had to work besides going to rehearsal and performing because it didn't pay well enough. I'm a postmodern dancer. I was a postmodern dancer. I wasn't doing commercial work, and I wasn't doing ballet or commercial, like Broadway or music videos. So anyways, I used to get that, like, dancers whose husbands supported them and their children, and all they had to do is like cook lunch for them. But even not that, because they had enough money to buy lunch, you know. So yeah, I was writing about how horrible it is, how people see a person who's poor to begin with and was working for since like adolescence. Many people start working in high school for clothes, in college for clothes and to go out, but I was working for a living since I was 14. I was homeless at 15. I was on my own at 16. So, and then I I'm a radical feminist. So, saying that all sex work is is empowering and that women want it. All sex workers want it, and they're not coerced into it. I have a problem with that, especially. And I was trafficked sexually as a child, and before I was trafficked sexually, I was abused by both my parents. There goes my alarm. Okay, but I'm gonna continue talking. I time myself when I do tasks, so I do a full hour, and I don't procrastinate. I don't laze around. So, this is off topic, but on topic with the last one about how not to be an artist. Um, I I am disciplined. If there's a task that I have to do, I will set a timer. And for this one, I set a 1 hour timer to go through my write stuff I wrote. They're not my writing, stuff I wrote down and copy into another notebook, stuff that I wanna take to possibly edit or, turn into something. Most of that is, like, poetry material, um, but that was my alarm. So, yes, I am very disciplined. I make weird work. I may look weird, like I don't care about, fitting in, but, doesn't mean that, I sit around doing nothing, and it doesn't mean I sit around saying that I'm genius and the whole world is messed up for not recognizing me. I'm not like that at all. I'm around a lot of people like that. So, okay, I keep on so I go on. Oh, yeah. So, yes, in terms of sexual abuse, we know how to do controlled dissociation from years of being sexually abused. Before you tell someone to grow up and get a job, especially those who are not working, or had meaningful support from family members and spouses. Yeah, I think you say spouses, not spice. Think about your situation and then think about theirs. In seeing and out seeing. Um, the in seeing and out seeing part, I, I, you know that book? It's not a book. It's a poem, Turning Point by Rainer Maria Rilke. So he writes about in seeing in the notes. Um, and I think there's an out seeing too, to not just look at where your situation is, but to look at other people in context. Not in context, so it's all subjective and it's from your world view, so you can project yourself out onto people, or you're the center of the world and everything around you is wrong and you're right. But outseeing, like once you know about you inside, um, to put yourself in context with the rest of the world. And by the way, I I you love Rilke's poetry, but from stuff I read, I think he's a hypocrite, and kind of disgusting. So that's that. But people like Picasso and many yoga gurus who brought yoga to India, to the United States from India. Yeah, the horrible people who did things for peace or for art, and yeah, it's not a subject. It's not the subject I'm going to talk about today, though. So I will keep going and seeing it. So you think about yeah, think about their situation as you think about yours, in seeing and out seeing. Yeah. If working as a food server or messenger, this doesn't work out for you, consider that it may not work out for even more of a disabled person or a person of color or a trans person as well. And the only difference is that you had a choice. So I've met people who said, "Oh, I could never wait on tables." I was one of those people, but I had to. I had to when I was 15 and I decided I want to be under a roof. I wasn't even allowed to legally. I had to be 17 to serve alcohol, but I didn't. I'm not that outgoing, and didn't have much experience with eating in restaurants, but I did it. Art modeling. I had just had an abortion. But because I had just had an abortion, I lost work with a general contractor. I was doing finish work after people painted and doing some painting, detail work and whatnot. And after the abortion, I couldn't. I mean, I had to take a day off of the abortion, but I wasn't going to climb a ladder, a high ladder, and do finish work on a ceiling, which was the next day. So Um, when I stopped bleeding, I put in a tampon, I started art modeling. I did not want to to work naked. I don't say nude. I didn't want to work naked, but I did. So yeah. So for people who are like, oh, I could never art model, or I tried service work, it didn't work out. If you're in dire need, it happens. You can't, if you have no one to fall back on, it happens. So, and I go on to write, please, before judging somebody as infantile, ask if you're projecting yourself on the oppressed. That's the person who tells the oppressed disabled person to go to work, I think is the one who's immature. Uh, oh, and I this is stuff that my mother said. So I'll put it here, even if it's a different topic. So my mother is a toxic narcissist, probably a sociopath, and it says other things my mom said, but oh yeah, so I don't, if you're in New York State, maybe you know about HEOP, basically free ride with some on-campus work, like part-time work for people who come from the inner city who didn't do too excellent at their high school because they were working or they were in a bad environment. They get free rides if you go to school in New York State or New York City. Okay. And Bard College wanted me. Bard College in Annandale on Hudson. Wow. And this was around 1990. So, yeah, I really wanted to go there. And I had friends who went there. And I mean, wow, what an honor. Bard College wanted me on HEOP. But I had been on my own since 16 and I was 19, and they called around and said that my parents have green cards, they're working, they're making $50 an hour. No, not $50 an hour. They're making 50,000 a year, which was a big, it was a nice chunk back in 1989, 1990. So, this is what she said. Oh, I could, this is voice. This is like weird, like sensitive woman voice, and then she also can do evil. So she's and this is in Japanese. I am kind of translating other things my mom said. Oh, we couldn't survive without claiming you as a dependent. We can't live only in brown rice. In parentheses, brown rice is more expensive than white rice because it is less shelf stable. Okay? My parents didn't work since I was 6 years old. My well-off grandparents supported them. After I left home at age 16, they got green cards and jobs. On the same subject, my mother said that she saved money from lying to the IRS. Okay? So she saved money from lying to the IRS. She told me that she made 2,000 to 3,000 a year claiming, but between like 1987 and 1992, the amount you could have gotten was 800. The amount you could have saved was $800 a year. So yes, the earlier thing I said is I think less nasty, um a smaller version of narcissism, right? So to expect people who are less advantaged than you to work, even if it'll harm them even more, even if in jobs that you can't do because it's not comfortable for you. And then the one that I just said about my mother, the craziest kind of narcissism, right? That they had they would eat only brown rice if they didn't do a tech scam. And yeah, that made me not be able to go to a, a college that I wanted to go to. Um, I went to FIT night school and I went to Lehman College working. I got tap and pell later when they couldn't claim me. So I was like 28 or 29 when I got my bachelor's. Um, and my life was easier. My upload was hard. Like I was exploited by boyfriends and at jobs. But anyways, I just wanted to come on quick to because this came up and I thought, why not go online? But yeah, I already spoke 20 minutes, so I am going to end this. Please tell me in the comments other topics you want me to talk about. Have a wonderful Sunday. Bye.